Hello and a very warm welcome to the world of VFR. A small series of 5 videos to guide you through the basic areas of VFR in preparation for your training. Of course, you should return to doing your training as this is the most daunting part of your S2 training. Welcome to this first briefing on your VFR course, which we call VFR Basic Rules. The objective of this course is to get you as proficient in VFR as possible before even having tried it on the network. We split this into several different sections for the maximum structure to get you to the goal line as efficiently as possible. Now, the journey starts here. We need a strong foundation before we can add up with the building blocks to finally master VFR. First things first, the foundation. The most important part of it. This requires complete understanding, so please do pay attention. First, we need certain sets of ideologies to have in order. So let's just take 4 small reviews in this lesson, because you need to know how a VFR plane operates, what is it allowed to do, how do you boost your confidence, and to understand the value of information. Lesson 1. What is a VFR flight actually? You must first understand how a VFR flight operates. You're probably consumed with IFR procedures and ILSs and very strict instructions such as headings and altitudes. This is because we always assume that the pilot is flying blind in a cloud all the time. This is the blind world of IFR, not VFR. In VFR, a pilot navigates by looking out the window and flying exactly where he wants to fly. There are no beacons or ILSs or altitudes or headings. And most importantly, and this is so important for you to understand, there is little to no structure. As a VATSIM controller, it's easier for you to deal with IFR because while it's complex with lots of phraseology and procedures, it is structured and rarely does anything unexpected happen. You can learn the things you need to learn a few non-standard situations, and then you're set for your S2 rating. With VFR, it's the other way around, and this is what is so difficult to understand. While IFR has a high complexity but a low unpredictability, it has tight predictable structure, VFR is quite low in complexity but very high in unpredictability. It's very unstructured and unpredictable. So what you need to do to master VFR is learning the relatively few procedures and rules, way less than you need to for IFR, but you must know how to take this limited arsenal of rules and utilize them to every single possible situation. Because VFR is so unstructured that you cannot train anything that can possibly happen. You must just be super proficient in the basic skills and then translate those skills to any possible situations, including ones that you may not have thought about. What's the point? It is as you progress through this course that you understand the importance to know what you need to know extremely well so you can translate it into every situation. Alright, lesson 2. What is a VFR flight actually allowed to do? This is a big one. The number one reason controllers struggle with VFR is because they don't truly understand the basic nature of it. We'll now go through what the all-important basic structural rules are for VFR. For this, we should start digging back into your airspace class Delta. So, you've seen this before during your airspace class lessons and probably just discarded it as non-important information. Well, guess what? It just got super important. Here you can see the rules for your airspace. This is what a VFR flight is allowed to do. We're looking at the bottom row for that. Starting from right to left, he must have a clearance to do stuff. Okay, good. So what does that mean? It means he must have your permission to enter your airspace. And for everything he does, he needs your permission. This means that he must always specify what he wants. He cannot just enter your zone. He cannot just go land or fly over the airport. He must specify exactly what he wants so he can get your permission. This also means that you have to be very clear and precise in what he has permission to do. Another part of this is, remember, you can say no as well. Problem students has not being able to say no when the situation sometimes require it. The VFR does not have a right to do stuff. It is you who have the right to let him do what you think is appropriate. Next is transponder. This is not required for VFR, so you do not have to give him a squawk, because you can see him on the ground radar. Next is radio communication. Yes, of course, there needs to be radio communication. That's self-explanatory. And speed restriction, we will not even discuss. Next one is interesting. Flight control service. What services should you provide the pilot? This is also a point where a lot of students fails to understand. You have to provide him flight control service. That was what we just talked about. You need to control him and tell him what to do. Traffic information on IFR and VFR. So you need to provide information on other airplanes, both IFR and VFR, that may concern him. Good to know. Then this. Avoidance guidance on request. So what does that mean? They're not separated? No. And this leads to the next point, the important one and the daunting one. Ensured separation is none. Here's where lots of controllers make mistake, and they mistake for being the same as IFR. They think you need to provide separation in order to then omit information about other airplanes. But it is wrong. For VFR, it is the other way around. You do not have to provide any separation of any sort to a VFR flight, but what you need to do is to provide information in order to omit separation. That's it. Let's just quickly talk about what is separation. It's giving headings, giving climbs, giving directions, all this stuff. It is not required for VFR, so don't get so nervous about it. What is required is for you to give a clearance for how to fly. And for the love of God, traffic information. These are the only things you need to consider. Notice that traffic information should be provided for IFR planes about VFR as well. So you have to tell them how to fly and inform them of what to be aware of by providing instructions on how to fly and traffic information to make them aware of what's going on around them. This, of course, we will expand on in later lessons on how to do it. Now onwards to lesson 3. Be confident on what you're doing. Embrace this knowledge. Know how simple it is if you just understand the basics, and know that you must really master them in order to be confident in what you're doing. You tell the VFR pilot exactly what to do. Do not worry about if you're allowed to do it, because you always are. As long as you are within the scopes of these procedures, then you are the king and you decide what the VFR flight is allowed to do. Allow him to only do what you can handle and what fits with your plan. Does he want to go for landings on 2 to left with lots of planes in the ILS? Say no. He can take 2 to right instead if he likes. Does he want a low pass on runway 12 with lots of inbounds? Say no. The word to stand by when you control VFR, 3 sentences to truly live by. Be confident on whatever instruction you are giving. Be precise on that instruction so there's no doubt. And be strict on instructions. Control the VFR. Do not let the VFR control you. Onwards, the last lesson, provide information. You've seen it at the airspace class table. It is part of your service. Provide information about relevant traffic. This is really where your energy should go. You're given the luxury of not having to provide any separation for VFR. But a VFR can only separate himself from others if he knows what is there. So it's absolute key to make him aware of what goes on around him. Don't skip on this. This is your primary focus. I'm not kidding. Let me give an example to understand how this works. Think of IFR and VFR as being on a treasure hunt. How do you find the treasure? An IFR plane is blindfolded. You say, go on, go right, go left again, now go right. A VFR gets a target, and then instruction how to get there, and then information about potential disruptions on the way, which he needs to be aware of. There, hopefully that makes a little sense. Good now, these are the 4 pillars of laying a nice foundation for VFR. Know what you're dealing with, understanding that information is vital to IFR. That confidence in your knowledge is needed to be able to adapt your skills to any possible situation. In order to do that, make sure you have complete control over exactly what a VFR airplane is allowed to do, and then you know how to deal with VFR. We will now continue the next lessons with actually teaching you these things, so good luck and thanks for watching.